Scare your dog? Scared the dog? Oh man, I scared the dog. What up, Internet? What's going on with you? What's going on with you? What's happening? What's happening? What are you dogs doing? What's up, Internet? How's it going? Happy Friday to everyone out there. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? We're going to check it out. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what you type into the chat today. I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm freaking out. Alyssa Bentley says, no ad to skip. I don't know. I never know what YouTube is really doing with the ads. I don't know. I have them disassembled to the minimal amount. What is that, a spider? Oh, no, it's, hold on. It's like a little flying bug. What are you? What are you, little flying bug? All right, I don't know what that is, so, yeah. I don't know what that little flying bug was. It flew into my ear, though. Oh, my God, it flew into my ear. What am I doing today? I don't know what I'm doing today. I'm just being weird. I've been home by myself, and it's getting weird. This guy's getting weird. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so let's get to the beginning of the show like a regular person. Like how the show normally starts out, waiting for people to pile in the door. But good to see today. We have the 1, 2, 3 action, and I actually did take a screenshot of it, which, of course, I don't have open on my phone. Hit the button. Here it is. Bentley Pascal, first to the chat, along with Johan S. Johan Bentley. And I'm going to say Bald and Dangerous, number 3. I took a picture when there was only 2. Because I'm just that smooth. Right? Just that smooth. Just that weird. Welcome to the show. If you've never been here before, yes, we talk about fish stuff on here. Friday is a great day to talk about fish stuff because I answer the fish-related questions from the Patreon. So if you're somebody who is... First of all, not knowing what the Patreon is a third-party hosted site that you can go to if you want to sponsor this show or these videos or these whatever you want to call them, these YouTube interactions. If you want to be a sponsor, you can go there. You can do it. You can do it at the Patreon, which is once a month. And some people have been emailing me lately saying that talking about the Patreon is super lame and it's the worst thing that they've ever heard. And they hate it, and I understand. I don't like commercials. I don't even like doing commercials about my own stuff, right? Right? I don't. They suck. I hate doing commercials. I hate commercials altogether. Someday, we'll hit that sponsorship mark where we don't have to ever talk about any kind of commercial thing ever again, right? Someday we'll do that. Like someday, maybe I'll be on Netflix. And there won't be any commercials, except for the Netflix commercials that are at the beginning of the Netflix shows. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. That's annoying, right? You're like, I want to watch this show. It's like, or no, HBO does that. Sorry, not Netflix. HBO does that. So we talk about the Patreon from time to time, and I know that it bothers you. But there are definitely some upsides to the Patreon. As I've mentioned before, it is a third party. It is a third party hosted site. You can go there. It's once a month. You can be somebody who chips in $1 or $10, or you can be some of the super generous people out there that have chipped in way more than that, which is totally cool. There's currently 284 of you up on there doing your thing. Kicking down a little bit, helping the brother out, helping y'all out to make some shows and stuff. And I appreciate it wholeheartedly, and it's super cool. One of the things on there that I will remind people, if you are somebody that that wants an episode, there is basically the only tier, the only like reward tier on there is the producer tier. If you're over $100 a month, I'll make a video specifically for you on the topic that you want me to make it on. Unless it's obviously something that can't go onto YouTube. You know what I mean? Like within reason. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I'll find like a really interesting way to do your gnar topic. The super gnarly topic. Who knows? I don't know. But thank you to everybody. And one of the big reasons I bring it up is because today is the first of the month, which means it's basically Patreon is charging people. So kudos. Thank you very much. That is today. Hopefully we can hopefully hit our mark. And I just also wanted to say thank you. The generosity of people from my Wednesday Freakout show, which I think the best thing that I was messaged about the Wednesday show was you basically had a Jerry Maguire moment, which I would say that I think that was probably the closest excuse me, I don't know what's going on here. That was probably the closest or most accurate representation of my freak out on Wednesday. Yeah, I'm freaking out. I got a lot of stuff going on, and we're definitely hitting that point of I got to make some strong scheduling decisions on what I'm doing and what I'm doing moving forward. I love doing this. I love doing the interaction and stuff. And as I talked about it way too much on Wednesday, but just to hit it real quickly, I'm basically been operating at a deficit for a really long time, and I've got a baby on the way, and I do have to take into consideration what I'm doing if I can't continue to operate at a deficit forever and also take care of a new baby. You know, I'm going to be what the hospital people said, an elderly first-time parent. Elderly. So, you know, in my old elderly wisdom here, that's kind of stuff that I really got to think about. But today's topic of the show is, where do you get your Aquascape inspiration, right? So we will be hammering on that when we hit the video segment. I'm going to kind of do this a little bit differently than we normally do on Friday. We're going to hit the Patreon stuff first. Patreon is going to get pushed right up to the front of the show here, and we're going to hammer into that pretty quickly. As soon as we sort of hit that 10-minute mark, somewhere around there, we're going to be hammering into it. Nick says 38 is not elderly. The hospital quantifies me as elderly first-time parent. So that's the caveat on the end there. The end is, as a first-time parent, I would be considered an elderly first-time parent. Hold on a second. I forgot to plug in my phone. Ah. Yes. Well, that's the caveat there, is that first-time parent is the thing on there. That they're like, man, you guys are considered elderly. You guys are so freaking old. And I was like, my bro, you can't say that. And she said, I'm a lady. And I said, you're still my bro. I don't know what was happening. I was in the hospital. I don't know what I'm doing. Goonfuse is here saying, what up, Joel? I watch all the videos / streams. Never really type in chat, though. Keep in mind, good things happen to good people. Keep up the good work. All things with all the things you have on your plate. Yes, I'm going to keep rocking and rolling. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing here. I'm just going to have to figure out how I can work in some other jobs. I did notice my guy Greg Jones here is asking, how's the truck? The truck is totaled. The truck is totaled, and it ain't going to be coming back. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a sore subject. It's just dealing with an insurance company that is consistently acting like an insurance company. You know what I mean? So they're basically just trying to pull the old switcheroo, the old wool over the eyes, at every turn. It's pretty much to be expected. That's kind of what insurance companies do. They're like hey, we got to protect the bottom line. And I'm like, dude, your customer crashed into me and drove away into the night, right? So I'm just like, dude, all I want to do is replace my truck. So hopefully, I think we've come to an agreement, though they are trying to slide one in on me here at the end, again. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to accommodate their wishes at this point if they're deciding to throw me a bill at the end. But whatever, that's not it's neither here nor there. Definitely has to do with as Chad Krotz says, an Explorer is an SUV, not a truck. Yeah, but if you're from over the if you're from Europe, an Explorer would be like a truck, over there. Whatever. It's just a verbiage. But that truck is dead. And hopefully, with any luck, fingers crossed, going to look at 2 replacement vehicles this evening. And hopefully we find a good one, and it just happens. And we just get it done. And it just happens. Mateo says, how about that Patreon action? Should we just do a show where I just talk about Patreon for an hour and a half or 2 hours? I'm definitely, thank you very much to the Patreon people. We've got a long ways to go to hit the goal, but a lot of people chipped in. We did lose a bunch of people, but I did mention on the Wednesday show that it would be a good time for you to no longer be a Patreon patronizer if you if you feel like this show's going the wrong direction. Now would be the time to get out. It was on Wednesday because it's going to charge today, which it is currently doing. So, as you guys know, maybe you guys like it, maybe you don't like it. I'm a full disclosure kind of guy, which I also received some messages from people that were like, hey, you need to stay on topic 100% of the time. Stop telling me about your history. Stop telling me about your past, or stop telling me about the other stuff that's going on. Hey, this is my show, and I like to talk about the things that are going on in my life, the things that are contextual to the time that is happening right now, or to the things that are going on. But and I also like to talk about personal experiences with certain things, and part of who I am and whatnot is that I am a sober guy. Part of what I am is just been through a lot of stuff. So I do try to relate that stuff, and to those of you out there that feel like sending me an email about not doing that anymore, tough, because I'm always going to be me, and that's part of who I am. I'm pretty open about this stuff, and I like to talk about it because realistically, the emails that I get from people that are like, dude, you helped me out, those way overpower anybody's negative nonsense forever. It just goes, because I've heard a lot of people over the years that like, they get a lot of good comments and then you get one bad comment, and the one bad comment stands out to you. For me, it's the opposite way. It's like those positive emails outweigh any of the negative stuff, just immensely. I never want to say like who it is that has sent any of those emails, so that none of that matters. But to me, those big emails that explain like how I've helped somebody out, that goes right to the forefront of my mind when somebody sends me something negative, and I'm just like, yeah, cool, There's other live streams you could go watch. There's other fish live streams you could go watch. Are they better? Maybe. Are they worse? I don't know. I'm just some guy, I'm just some guy with a hot microphone that's on. Jad Orsi says, I love that you share all that. Makes you a human and less of a mystery internet being. Ooh, I like that. That's a good way of putting it. And I have talked about this in the past. There are a lot of people that you guys will see on the news, that you'll see on TV, that you'll see on YouTube especially, and especially like social media and stuff like that, that aren't they just aren't the genuine article. I try to be as close as I am on the show as I am in person, other than I just don't swear on here because it's much easier to listen to a show Like if you're going to listen to it on your Bluetooth out in your garden, right? Check the new garden video if you haven't seen that. I realized I titled it wrong and put weird, I didn't put weird, but I did the SEO, like the tags. I did the tags wrong, so it didn't quite get the traction that it normally does. Or YouTube's just mad because I was yelling about them. Who knows? I see Susan from SLC Aquatics. Good to see you. I see Multi-Tank Addiction. What's up, my man? How you doing? We were Facebook chatting earlier. I see Chad Krotz saying it's always been difficult for me to stay on subject. That's right. It's always difficult to stay on subject. You know what I mean? It's easy to get way out there and get distracted. We're about to go to the Patreon. We've hit the 15-minute mark. About to go to the Patreon questions. But one thing I wanted to mention once kind of people got here. My man Corey over at the Aquarium Co-op. Are you guys familiar with Corey and the Aquarium Co-op? If you're on YouTube, you probably know who they are. As you guys know, I collaborate and do some projects with Corey from the Aquarium Co-op from time to time. And he mentioned something today that I feel is an awesome thing that you guys might be able to take advantage of, and that would be a clearance section. My guy, Hope, he set up a clearance section for the Aquarium Co-op. He set up a clearance section for the Aquarium Co-op. And it's like open box lights, discontinued items, certain stuff that you guys could definitely take an advantage of if you want to. There's some links right there in the chat. Candy just posted them. I know that some of the other moderators will probably post them up through the show here. But you're talking about a clearance section, which is awesome. He's got Never Clog Airstones on there, freeze-dried bloodworms, krill, the freeze-dried krill. Those are dope. They got the open box return Fluval Plant 3.0 LED lights. They also got the scratch and dent Fluval 3.0 LED nano lights, which have had no use. They've had no use. The box has just been opened. They basically, Fluval had a slight issue with its packaging thing. Essentially, like the thing that would put the light into the box had some kind of something happening with it. I don't know. I don't work in a manufacturing plant, so I really wouldn't be able to explain exactly what happened. But when I talked to the guy from Fluval, I talked to him in person. We actually hung out and spent a bunch of time together. Super awesome. They were gracious hosts. Take us to Interzoo in Germany. But they're in the process of fixing that. But as I can see here, the scratch and dents, the nano lights, the nano Fluval 3.0 lights, it just has minor blemishes. I don't know how many are there, but how many can I buy? 100? 5? Okay, this thing doesn't know that I'm adding more. All right, but either way, it looks like there's at least one there. I would definitely, I might even go buy one of these lights from there. You know what I'm saying? I would probably get one of those Fluval 3.0 nano lights. I could make use of those. But a bunch of cool stuff in the clearance area there. It might save you a couple of bucks. Fish Girl from Connecticut has the nano light, loves it. I've only got to play with it. I've only got to play with that nano light. I never actually got to use it on anything yet. I really hope to, because I do have some new fish tank setups that are coming in, and I think I might go buy one of those lights and then just have it on hand for a project that I might be doing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I would definitely check that out. Alyssa's asking about discount codes on clearance items, and Corey's answering it. Yes, the discount codes would work. So not only could you get a discount code, but there's the link. Candy just posted it there for the clearance items. And yes, that is an affiliate link. Yes, I am talking about it because, you know, it's an affiliate link. Yo, if you guys go on there and buy a bunch of stuff, then yeah, it says I sent you, you know? So if you want to use the affiliate link, you can. If you don't want to use the affiliate link, you don't have to. If you find products somewhere cheaper, feel free to buy them at a cheaper location. But here's the one thing. Let me know. You know what I mean? Like, if you find something that's that's the same product, let me know, because I would like to let you guys know. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody's selling Fluval lights for $3, let me know, because I'm going to buy all of them. Well, I mean, we'll take out a second mortgage. We'll buy however many $3 Fluval lights we can find. You know what I'm saying? If somebody wants to sell stuff and lose money, we're going to go there. We're going to buy it. You know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, I think the clearance aisle from the coop, I think that's going to help as much as possible. Guppy's Fish Room is here. What's up, Karosh? How you doing? Good to see you. If you guys don't know who Guppy's Fish Room is, that's Karosh, the up-and-coming aquascaper. He's going to kick George Farmer right out of the aquascaper spot, right? It's going to be a few years down the line, because he's a young man, but he's the up-and-coming. I wouldn't say he's the up-and-coming me. He's probably more like the up-and-coming George Farmer, right? I think George does a little better work than I do, which he will actually be showing up in one of my videos here fairly soon coming out. As some of you guys noticed, the Aquarium Co-op put out a video today of going to the German fish store, which I'm still in the process of editing all of the stuff from Germany and all the crazy stuff that happened there, and trying to make them into a decent story to be able to, like, kind of put 5 of them up and have them kind of run in a story. And it's something I'm trying to work on that's a little bit different from my normal editing style. I'm trying to kind of make it, kind of follow it along, you know what I mean? Instead of just being like, hey, we're in Germany, quick cutaway, bass drop, like, so, trying to do a little bit of a different style, and still working on it, trying to get it done, and but I would look forward to some of that if I were you, because I was already there, but I think the Coops video was a good, definitely a good, I thought it was a good video. I thought it was a great video of that little store, but I was at that little store in person, and it was amazing. I will say that. I was at that little store in person. It was amazing, and I thought the video did a great job of illustrating just how cool that shop is. KG Cichlid says you were taking quite a few macro shots. I'm definitely working out how to work with my camera and my lens to try and get some better macro shots. I can't say I did a great job in Germany of getting macro shots. I basically need a longer focal length lens, which, as you guys know, I've been saving for, and then encountered a bunch of nonsense bills. But I've been saving for a good macro lens. I have to say, I was chatting with Chris Lukup today, and if you don't know who Chris Lukup is, hold on a second. Out of the way, camera. So I was chatting with Chris Lukup today, and here's a perfect example of some of the stuff that he does, right? And hold on. So here you go. Like, that's like what macro photography is right there. That's like that up close and personal shot of, plants and stuff. This is the opposite of macro, as you're like, 100 feet away, right? But, I was talking with him earlier today, and I'm like, man, I really need to get a macro lens. I was playing with one a little while ago, and at some point in time, I will definitely be getting one, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in ye old timeline, right? In ye old timeline of what's happening with what's happening. We'll see what happens as time goes by. But speaking of that situation, hopefully at some point in time I'll be able to do a project with that guy and be able to, like, What are you doing over there, man? What are you doing? What are you doing right now? Let me look at your camera. What are you working on? How are you doing that? And then just be like, shouting, what are you doing? And maybe like throw him off his game a little bit. But he was a metal guy. He was a metal guy for a really long time, so I don't think shouting would throw him off his game. But, let's not delay. Let's get on to some Patreon questions. I gotta move. I have to move over here when I'm doing the Patreon questions. And anybody notice the, why did the white balance just go completely bananas? Hold on a second. What are you doing? Camera control. Exposure? Is that going on? Oh. Well, hello, everybody. Oh, hello. Let's go 4. How about that? Does that look good? Oh, it makes the camera all weird. Hold on a second here. Video input. What's going on? Let's drag the brightness up a little bit. Okay, and then we can turn auto exposure back on. That's not good. Hey, man. That's not good. Okay, hold on a second. Well, let's mess with that. Why is it doing that? It's like automatically setting itself to ridiculous. Okay, let's go like this. Whoa. Okay, there we go. Hopefully it stays. We'll see. This camera, you guys, has got a mind of its own. It kind of does its own thing. All right, so we'll get that turned open there. In the meantime, we'll talk about Daniel Sherry. I'm always saying his last name wrong. I know I'm completely abomination, but I hope we get an update of this soon. This was the last thing we talked about last week on the Friday. And then here we go, going in with Leslie saying good news and bad news. Bad news, I got overly excited with the plant growth I was getting from the Easy Green I bought from the co-op, and my tank is now covered in what I believe is a type of staghorn algae. It's this very well could be staghorn algae, but it does look like the beginnings of basically where hair algae starts, which is going on this Anubias over here. So I'm wondering if that's the same thing. Speaking of macro photography, again, it takes that macro photography time, you know what I'm saying, to get those good shots of some algae, right? But either way, let's continue on here. Oops. So I Googled and found out treatments such as liquid carbon and hydrogen peroxide doses for small patches of the algae. I've used that method before, and it worked fantastic. However, some of my plants died. Yeah, I don't recommend the hydrogen peroxide. It's just so easy to get it out of hand. And the directed CChem Excel, I normally do a broad dosing of CChem Excel if that's the way I'm going to go about it instead of directed. But do you have any recommendations as to treat my algae outbreak without harming my sensitive plants or the fry? Now, Michael Moncourt is down here, and he's given some great advice. So I give some mad props to Michael Moncourt. Kudos to Michael, who's always been a awesome supporter, dude, and I love having conversations with the guy, for sure. 100. For sure 100, right? He's saying, I'm not sure if that's BBA or staghorn. Either way, algae seems to come in phases as your tank reaches various stages of balance. I'd focus on keeping the plants healthy and see if this algae, phase passes in a month or so. I would definitely follow that line of advice. Hold on, I have to do it this way. Whoa, that line of advice right there. Get the stability happening in your tank. More often than not, manual removal is probably going to be the biggest and best way to kind of knock back algae, get things to a certain point. As you guys know, I use my Knoll toothbrushes, I use my mag floats, stuff like that to knock algae loose, let it get caught up, and then do some small water changes. Algae is a great way to monitor what's going on with your tank, to be able to keep track of what's happening and knowing what's going on without doing a ton of testing. Now, I'm not saying throw out testing. I'm saying keep doing testing. And eventually, as you get down the line, you will start to notice, oh, hey, my nitrate gets really low. I start to see more of this algae or that algae or this or that. Or, from your testing, you'll start to figure out, oh, okay, in conjunction with my water, this is what happens when I'm low or high on a certain thing, right? And you'll start to learn that based on your geography, where you're at, how your tank is set up, how you're operating your tank, how you're fertilizing it, or any of that kind of stuff. It's really one of those things that I can't tell you that by just giving advice, you know what I mean? Like, I can't just tell you, you need to dose more nitrogen or whatever, whatever I would say to dose. It doesn't apply to everybody, but something that does apply to everybody is at the time of working with your systems and then figuring out what's going on. Like, here's an example from my perspective, that depending on what substrate I'm using in conjunction with the water that I get here in Western Washington, that comes out of the tap, I get really different results based on what substrates I'm using. Now, I've often given people the advice of, the easiest method to substrate a planted tank would be to get some fluorite red. You'd want to get some kind of red substrate, use that as the base, and then put fluval stratum over the top. That's sort of the fail-safe, like, you can't screw this up kind of substrate situation, especially out of the bag. Oftentimes people are like, well, that's a lot of money or whatnot. The way I look at it is you're making an investment in the in the future of your tank, the future health of your tank, and it's definitely going to cost a lot less money over time than constantly trying to fix issues all of the time. But I do have some tanks here that I've definitely run with different substrates and different wood, different plants, different amounts of plants. I've had some that were scarcely planted. I've had some that are densely planted. But the easiest thing to do is to work within your system and be doing the testing and then figure out where you're going from, because your baseline is completely different than mine more often than not. My water here that comes out of the tap is pretty darn clean. There isn't a lot to it. But there is also some downsides with that, is that there isn't really, there's like no magnesium in it. You know what I mean? So there's a bunch of stuff that I do from time to time have to dose. And one of the easiest things I figured out to dose nowadays, instead of doing the EI method with big giant water changes, I don't dirt my aquariums. None of that works out well. It doesn't work out well in the long run. But the two comprehensive fertilizers that I figured out would be the Thrive. Thrive is a great brand. They do some great work. Colin, super cool dude. He does some great stuff. Or the Easy Green. Those are the two that I know that are the easiest to handle for the dosing and all that kind of stuff. In my experience, those are the two best. But it's really easy to get something like this out of hand, and this seems to be happening in Leslie's tank in the direct light. So there's probably a lot of light here, even in my tanks where I have driftwood coming up and it's getting a ton of light blasted on it. I do grow some algae there and whatnot. Oftentimes I'll just clean it off and do a little bit of a water change and see if I can't get the balance back. But Michael gave some great advice here to just to just keep going along with what you're doing, and then you're really going to start to figure out how to gain that balance from the water changes that you're doing with your water, and how it's and how it's going on your end. All right, moving on to our next This isn't a question, but we have some awesome posts here from Niels Hansen, who is brand new to the Patreon as of like late last week. Says, hi, I'm new here. Here's my new tank. Just reused all the plant from the old Fluval Edge aquarium. Sorry for the substrate on the sand. Well, first of all, you don't have to apologize for some substrate on the sand, because this tank looks great. I mean, not that anyone would have to really apologize for substrate on the sand, but it's definitely great. Definitely, I love this. I love this setup. Then we had a slight issue here. Okay, we had a slight issue here that was handled by Vince and some other people, Jason Caldera and Vince. So Niels was trying to post a picture from his phone, which you can't do directly from the app. So you need to load the desktop onto the Patreon and then upload it that way from your phone. So a little bit confusing. I understand. Is it a little bit irritating? Yes. As far as I know, they were working on a fix. I think for some reason it was set up that way to just try and, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. They sent a big long email and I skimmed through it, honestly. but they're working on it. Daniel Keeping Fish chiming in, got in before the June 1st deadline, I hope, to show my support. Probably not much, but hopefully a wee bitty help. Yes, thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it for sure, 100%. It does not go on it doesn't fall on deaf ears. It does not fall on deaf ears, that's for sure. So, thank you, Daniel. I just got a message from Rumbust, so we'll mention that in a minute. Johan S. saying, hey, Joel, just want to support you in achieving your goals. Here's a pic of the hobby. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate people sending in pics. It's fantastic. Dude, I'm loving this setup, too. You guys, we got some talent. We got some talent coming in here, and I like that. Thank you very much, Johan. I appreciate it. Eric Esparza throwing in, saying, hey, Joel, chin up. The struggle is real, and you have a lot on your mind. You're the first YouTuber I have went out of my way to support. I enjoy your content, and it keeps me positive. I, as well as others, can understand the need to support your family, as I am sure we all have struggled like that. Just letting you know we are here as the #FishFam. Well, thank you, Eric. Mr. Esparza, I appreciate it very much. 100%. We got a bunch of stuff here from Niels, which is great because we get a chance to look at one of his tanks here. It says, hey, Joel, please keep doing what you do. You and Corey have led me back to the hobby. I'm now at 4 aquariums in 1 year. Sounds like you got full-blown multiple tank syndrome, right? Multiple tank syndrome kicking in, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have multiple tank syndrome, and I don't think there's a treatment for it. So it wouldn't matter if it was good or bad either way because there's no treatment. There's no treatment. You can't go to the doctor. Maybe Dr. Acula, the Dracula himself. Niels Hansen, one more time. Ooh, this looks like a burgeoning, Dutch-style tank. Props to that. I got to do a Dutch-style tank one of these days again. It's been a long time, you guys. Here's the little... This looks like the Fluval, the little Fluval. What do you call this one? I forget the name for this. I know Fluval makes this tank. I know that they're making a double wide of this tank. Like a double wide trailer. They're making a double wide of this one, and they're making it in white now, white and black. Pretty cool. Definitely. I definitely appreciate the setup here. It's been a long time since I've done nano tanks, and maybe someday I'm going to do some nano tanks again at some point. Candy saying it's the spec. Mateo says it's the flex. That's what it is. It's the flex. It's not the spec. It be flexing, or is it the spec? Uh-oh. Do we even know? All right. Well, somebody will look it up and they'll let us know. I was about to look it up and then I realized like all my windows are full of operating the show. So Bentley says the flex. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Bald and Danger says it's the Fluval Flex 57 liter. Like I said, they're making a double wide. The Coop says it's the Specs, which is the Spec Flex combo. I like it. Pretty good. Ultimate Fish Keeping Show says, hi, Joel. How are you? Sorry for being late and joining in. I was working on a new video that I am aiming to upload tomorrow, all being well. I hope you and your family are well. Well, I hope you and your family are well, too. We're good. We're doing well. We can't complain. We're going to go maybe buy the exact same truck that was crashed into. Just gray instead of green. Am I that guy? Am I that guy that gets his truck crashed into and then buys the exact same truck? Probably. I'm probably that guy. I'm probably that dude. I mean, I don't understand how else I'm supposed to be called Grandpa Dad if I don't do these kind of Grandpa Dad behaviors, like get my truck crashed into and then go buy the exact same year, the exact same model, just a different color. And by the way, I did find one that was the exact same year, exact same color, exact same model, but this other one looks a little nicer and it has lower mileage. So, upside, right? Upside. Oh. The other one didn't email me back either, so, you know, that's a deal. That's a deal breaker because I'm not, like, I wouldn't be able to find it. If they wouldn't tell me where it was, I wouldn't be able to find it. You know what I mean? They didn't put their address on there. So it's not like I could just drive over there and kick the tires and be weird. But how am I supposed to be Grandpa Dad if I don't do Grandpa Dad type stuff? You know what I mean? Yeah. But Neil, we've got another tank from Neil, and they all look dope. I'm loving it. He's got the Flex specs. He's got multiple of them. I dig it. I dig it. Thanks for posting that up. And we got one of our supporters here, Mike Howie, Mr. M. Howie9 himself. Mad props to Mike. I had a great time hanging out with Mike in Michigan at the American Livebearers Association. You know, our barbecue wasn't as good as the days before barbecue, but he was there for both. So I guess our individual forage of the two of us going out into the world to try and find barbecue on our own wasn't as good as the day before's, but it was still good. It was just in the shadow of the barbecue from the day before. But if you don't know Mike, he's been working on this awesome garage fish room situation. And a little bit of the backstory here is that in the township where Mike lives, they, like most of the houses around there have this weird garage situation that they look like these little barns. And they all got replaced at some point in time, but most people in the area decided that it would be cheaper to just move it to a different spot on the property than to demolish it and get rid of it. One of the issues with it is that it didn't have any of the finish work done on the inside. So as you can see, he is going around. He's doing all of the drywall. He's doing all of the mud. He did all the demo. He did the insulation, all that stuff. And this thing is coming along awesome. I'm pretty jealous of this. I wish I had 2-story fish room. I've only got 1 story. I didn't realize I was missing out on a 2nd-story situation until he started posting about his fish garage barn. And now I'm jealous, and I wish I had 2 stories because then I could have the upstairs workroom and storage, and then the fish room downstairs like he's doing here. He's got part of his fish room will be upstairs, but I would like to have mine be all downstairs and then all shop upstairs. I would keep it segregated myself personally because I do a ton of woodwork and everything like that, and I don't like cleaning sawdust out of my filters. But I clicked it on accident. I did it. I messed it up. There we go. Okay, we got it back. Is it fitting? It doesn't look like it's fitting now. Oh, yeah, it's still fitting. Okay. But I didn't realize that I wanted a second story until he's got it going on, or until he started posting this. And but because I'm always doing so much woodworking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about if I could have a second story, like how good that would be. Because then I could have my whole shop upstairs, and then just have all the fish tanks and fish projects and stuff be downstairs. But then again, I'd probably be a little bit irritated about constantly taking lumber upstairs and stuff like that. So maybe I'm only just a little bit jealous. I want 2 buildings. That's basically what I want to do someday. And I'm going to do them out of steel buildings. That's my plan. So hot tip to you guys, if you are actually ever going to build your own fish room, to put up your own building, as I know some people out there have spent, or at least collected exorbitant amounts of money in order to build their own fish room. I will, as an independent contractor myself, I will give you the advice on what you would want to do. So run your power, your water, and pour the concrete slab where you want it to go. Get that all done by yourself, right? You could do all the legwork for that. You could dig the trenches. You could lay the line down. You could put the form boards out there for the slab. You could help the concrete guys do all the concrete. And you can do that really cheaply. And then you can order a prefabricated steel building that will get assembled on site. That will be the most cost-effective way to go. And for a shop that's my size, where my fish room is, which is it's 22 feet wide by what is it? It's 22 feet wide across this way, and then it's 28 feet long, I think. I think it's 28 feet long. Well, either way, it's 536 square feet. I do know that. I do know that number off the top of my head. But it's 536 square foot building for an equal size building. For that, it should cost between $11,000 and $17,000 altogether to get the building put up. One of the awesome things about those prefab steel buildings, they show up, they assemble it. You basically just watch them put that thing together. It gets put up, it gets done, and it's really the way to go. If you were gonna do like your own fish room and you don't have an old building like Mike does and myself, we both had these old buildings that we're rehabbing. But I love it. I love doing the rehab, and I really hope to someday be able to do my own steel buildings for some fish rooms. But we'll get to it at some point in time. We'll get to it. I noticed Candy just posted up into the chat. The affiliate link for the clearance items at the co-op is in the chat right there. If you guys want to go check out the clearance items at the co-op, I definitely recommend, at least, I didn't even know that nanolite was there until the show was going on. And I realized that that nanolite is really worth it. That nanolite is really worth it 100%. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to go buy one myself. Gooby Goober says a Joey burn lol. I've talked about it many times on the live stream. I don't understand how a building like that would cost $100,000 to build. That's been my only problem with that whole situation. But seems weird to me, because otherwise people wouldn't have garages if they cost that much to build. But Ollie H, I wouldn't worry about that topic. Let's worry about Ollie H's topic. Ollie. I love his little avatar. It's dope. He says he's got a population explosion in the sword tank, but I'm most happy with the plant growth since you recommended dropping the TDS. Just need to have a thin out and do a proper scape. Thanks again for the advice. Keep on doing what you do, and looking forward to the hair rescape. I'm looking forward to the hair rescape myself. I need a haircut real bad. It's starting to get shaggy. This is starting to get ridiculous. This would not meet the grade. But I'm probably go up on Monday and get a haircut, as I've just got like too many things getting done, especially like trying to find a new truck and dealing with these crazy insurance people and stuff like that. So I'm probably gonna head up on Monday, get myself a little trim. I can be shaggylicious over the weekend. It's not going to be a big deal. But Rory's here. What's up, my man? Good to see you. Joel G from New Zealand is wondering 111,000 to 117,000. No, 17,000 is about right. You buy the building. You buy the building prefabricated, and like I said, they come and assemble it, and that's included in the cost. They come set it up. You just pull the permit ahead of time with your concrete slab, ready to go. And drawing putting the electrical and the water out there. Like I said, if you dig the trenches, do all that kind of stuff, it's going to be super cheap because the electrician, like let's say you can't do the electrical or water line yourself, the huge cost for that is not digging the holes, right? So you think of it this way: if you were to pay somebody, $200 an hour to dig a trench for you, it gets wildly expensive, right? Whereas the people that dig the trench should be making between $10 and $15 an hour. Realistically, that's the market of what would be paid for that. But if you make the electrician do it, he's going to be charging $100 to $200 an hour, and it would get super duper expensive. But if they could come out, measure the hole, and if you have your sand, if you have your sand substrate in there correctly and stuff, they can just lay the line right in. And then you're talking about a guy just spending an hour hooking up on this end, coming through, and then you backfill it in all yourself. It will be super easy to get it inspected because the inspector can come out, measure everything, make sure it's low enough into the hole and all that, and you'll be totally good to go. It will save you a ton of money. And then buying a building that small, it doesn't really cost that much money when you get down to it. So, but that's the way, if you guys want to do a new building, that's what you would want to do if you have the spot for it, if you have the land. But I'm super stoked to hear from Ollie and seeing that the advice is working out really well. Remember, don't drop the TDS too low because you have, I can't tell if these are, these are swords. Yep, I can see one right over here. This was looking guppy belly right here. But once I look in the background, I'm like, oh yeah, there's swords everywhere in here. They're looking great, but don't drop the TDS too low on the swords because they'll be having a little bit of a deficiency, being the fish that want a little bit of TDS in the water. So, and also your plants want a little bit too, not crazy. Bear that in mind. Ollie is sent in this picture also of, if you wondered about the avatar, here are the real Squishington and the Familia del Pulpo. I used to get given one each of Valentine's Day. Does anything say I love you quite like a plushy octopus? I don't think anything says that. I don't think anything quite says I love you like a squishy plush octopus. And those are cute. I mean, this one is the cutest. Let's be honest. He's got the mustache. He's got the monocle. He's got a top hat. That's next level cutery. Cututery. Chicanery? What am I saying? I don't know. But I appreciate it. And now I actually know where the avatar came from. Color me a little bit learned about squishy octopuses, but I want to get some octopuses. Ridiculous. Octopi. Steve Horton writes in, Joel, here's that tank I mentioned in my email today. I was having old tank syndrome a while back. Glass 65-gallon, low tech, one plastic plant left for color, and all the rest are live along with some Mopani wood. I'm loving that little bit of Mopani coloring to the water. Oh yeah. Ooh, yeah. And I bet your fish are liking it. Also, because fish love swimming around in a little bit of tannin. But yes, there's a sneaky plastic plant right there. But there, you could definitely get that. You could get that plant in real life. It looks like. Uh-oh. Am I going to say this wrong? Let's not say it wrong, you guys. I was actually looking it up earlier. Ludwigia glandulosa. I've been pronouncing things wrong a lot lately, apparently, as far as the internet goes. With the Willamette Valley, right? So they got Willamette Valley, and I've got Willamette near me. So Willamette is near me. Willamette is in Oregon. So there are two, but the spelling is a little bit different. But I never say Willamette out loud. I only ever hear it like on the radio or whatever. But Willamette is a local place that does like dental and stuff like that. It's a local name for something. I forget, some area. So bear in mind to all those people that were offended by me saying Willamette wrong. It's because there's one near me that's pronounced differently. Ooh, yeah. Uh-oh. Tyrone Wiley is asking, what is TDS? And Rebecca's doing a great job of answering it here, saying it's really a measure of all the minerals and salts that are dissolved in the water. The TDS stands for Total Dissolved Solids. It's one way to measure whether your water is hard or soft, but only somewhat useful since it's a huge category. Yes, total dissolved solids gets confused by a lot of people because, I've seen like Rachel O'Leary has talked about it a lot, with not really mentioning that really like what total dissolved solids are. The total dissolved solids can be pretty much anything. It's just something that is dissolved in the water column. And a TDS meter, the total dissolved solids meter, is actually just an electrode that is only measuring the resistance of the water itself. It is only measuring the resistance of the electricity from one end of the probe to the other end of the probe, right? And it's not telling you what is in the water. It's just telling you like how many parts per million that electrical current is conducting better than pure water, right? Pure water doesn't conduct electricity very well. It's the minerals in water that will conduct electricity. So it could be anything in the water. It could be iron. It could be magnesium. It could be salt. There's a bunch of things that the TDS could be, right? The real thing is to figure out what they are and then what the good balance is going to be working in your area. Like you might have a bunch of mercury in your water. You might have a bunch of sulfides in your water. Who knows? I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff, but you'd want to bear in mind that the TDS is only a small portion of the story of that water, right? And the TDS meters are typically used in conjunction with a reverse osmosis deionizing system, which will clean your water essentially down to pure water. Like there's no contaminants in it or anything like that. So when you use a TDS meter and you put it in, you're testing to see if your RODI unit is actually cleaning everything out of the water. That's why it's very common in an aquarium hobby that you see a TDS meter show up, but it's super common in the reefing, because in reefing, you want to clean your water before you mix your reef salt in it for your water changes. So there are around the hobby a lot, and I see them a lot, and I see a lot of people depending on them for their freshwater tanks. But I will remind you, you want to do some testing to find out exactly what is in your water, especially if you're having something show up like strange algae, maybe your fish are acting a little bit funny. There's a number of things that you could be looking for visually, right, from the reaction of your water. And also, I don't expect everybody to do a water test every time you do a water change. But what's the word? No, like, I don't expect anybody to do a test every time you're getting ready for a water change, but I do expect, like most people, like myself, I do some water tests here and there once a week ish. My water's pretty consistent around here. It's not that weird, but the TDS meter is not going to give you the full story unless you are using it as a measurement against a Rhody unit that is filtering your water. So. All right, we got to switch scenes again here, you guys. All right, we're going to go back to scene 2, the regular screen. I do not understand why the exposure, it's not supposed to be doing that, but it keeps dropping it. There. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to talk about before we move on, that little buster right there. I know that it has been quite confusing for people whether or not they're going to buy a painting from me or not. At some point in time, we will be streamlining that process. When that happens, when that is going to happen, I will tell every single person in the world, individually. I will walk over to your house. No, I'm actually going to tell everyone individually. I'm actually, will announce it and probably beat it in your heads more than I even talk about the Patreon. So I'm sure that I will get a bunch of emails about it. But once that system gets streamlined, that like per se you want to buy like a print of this fish that I'm making up here. Like say you wanted to buy a print, like just a copy of it, like a paper copy. You wanted to throw it like into a frame, or you wanted to stick it up on the wall and stab a knife in there like a teenager from the 80s. Maybe that's something that you wanted to do, right? I don't know. I mean, you just wanted a print. You didn't want the full original deal. As a disclosure here, that I could tell you something. One of the projects that will be coming up in the next coming weeks is another portrait. Not necessarily in the style of the one that's like me back there. You can actually see it back there in the corner a little bit, right here. So as you guys know, I do those black and white portraits. I want to be on a full disclosure so people have an idea if that was something that they wanted. The one that I'll be probably starting next week, I think, is going to be $600. It's a $600 painting. And I do not expect a lot of people to have $600 to commission a painting. I just don't. But that just gives you an idea, and that's kind of the friend price, basically. That's sort of like... That's somebody that's ordered paintings in the past and they want some more, right? So that's sort of the friend price. Realistically, like it takes a lot of time to make a painting like that, and it really adds up. And unless I'm going to pay myself like $2 an hour or something like that, it really starts to add up, and then it becomes expensive. So I never expect anybody to even be able to afford it realistically in the first place. But it is on my mind to get prints out for people that would be able to get them, right? But the first problem that I have is actually printing them and then like storing them. I don't have anywhere to store them. I don't have anywhere to put them. And I certainly don't have a printer that could print them out. You know, there's a local guy that may or may not do it, but I am in the process of making sure that I have really, 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 really nice copies that they'll be able to be turned into a print, and then hopefully we'll be able to get those printed and then find a reasonable way to get them shipped out, because that's also the other problem is actually getting them shipped first of all, and shipping them out in a timely fashion is a big issue, and then shipping them out in an affordable way. I don't think anybody appreciates some of the prices for shipping on certain things, or the cost for certain things. If you order up a print from somewhere or whatnot, it can get really expensive. And, so it's trying to streamline all that so it all makes sense, and working on it. It's a work in progress, and it is on my mind. It is something that is going to happen at some point in time. I do plan on that fish back there to be the first print that I'm going to make, though. So you guys will get to watch the evolution of that fish right there. I know that right now it kind of looks like a beta. It sort of looks like a beta right now. That's actually just the underpainting. So that's just a couple hours of getting the underpainting done, which you will never even really see this layer, but it'll keep going. It'll keep going from here. You guys will get to check up on it, right? You guys get to check in on it, see how it's going. But this actually is a killifish. And it will be a killifish by the end. It just sort of looks like a beta right now. You know what I mean? So it's kind of weird. It just looks sort of like a beta at this point, but it will be a killifish. And, hopefully that will be the first one that we'll be able to get turned into a print and get it out to some people that are looking for a reasonable price. I would like it to be well under $20. Like I don't even want it to be in the $20 range or anything like that, but I'd like it to be under $20, that if people wanted to get a good quality print sent out to you, that's kind of my plan. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what happens. The Fish Life says, I'm looking for a good dehumidifier. Do you know of any? As a matter of fact, I do. And let me get you a link. Let me see if I can get a link. As you guys know, I have a ton of stuff up on Amazon affiliates. If you guys ever want to check that out, you can. These are just like normally products that I've used. Humidifier. These are products that I've used and kind of checked out, and then I normally post links up on there that of things that I've used. Here it is. Boom. This is the one I actually have in my fish room right now. So let me get this. Copy. Here is the one that I actually have. Boom. There it is. So there's an Amazon link. You can check it out. If you're into that, if that's something you're into. But there's the one that I actually use right now. That's the actual model. Let me see. I think it's a 70 pint. I think it's yes, it's the 70 pint. Yeah, that's the one that I got. That's the one I actually use right now. Works fantastically. Super easy to drain the water out. Works awesome. 54 Punchy says, I have sold a lot of prints because my originals are expensive. Yeah. Yes, that's the thing. I think it's just one of those things. Like, I don't expect anybody to be able to actually afford a painting. You know what I mean? I never have that expectation. People hit me up, and I'm always kind of surprised about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. Let's do this thing. And also, I do have to take into consideration that there are a lot of artists out there that maybe don't take this into consideration, but there are a lot of people that are like, well, you should lower your price. But I don't lower my price, not only in consideration for myself, that the hours and hours of work that go into it, but I also try to take into consideration the community, the art community itself, that the art community that is not that, like, if let's say I'm selling paintings for like $100 or something crazy because I'm like, no one's buying them because they're too expensive, that creates a problem for everybody else that's making paintings, right? Because that would devalue everyone else's paintings too. That it's like, well, this guy only sells his paintings for $100. Why are yours so expensive? Because it probably took them 100 hours to make it, right? So that's also something to take into consideration also, that like I can't just throw a basement price on all my stuff, Oh, Vexen Cat just got my Patreon receipt in the email. Nice. A Rumbust with the first super chat today. Oh, man. I almost forgot the super chat was a thing. Saying, super chat's coming in super slow today. You forgot to update the Patreon page to see my post. Well, I don't normally... These came in after the show started. So I don't update the page because I can't update the page like during the show. I'm not saying that anybody would ever do this, but I want to make sure that like There's not like some kind of indecent post or something like that on Patreon, and then I put it up on YouTube, and then we get in a whole bunch of trouble, you know? But I got it refreshed now, so hold on. Let's go back to the Patreon questions because we got 2 more here from today, and I know how to, and I can read them. I already read them. Rebecca M., thank you very much, Rebecca M., for just being cool. Fell down a rabbit hole the other day and discovered the proper pronunciation for the Scoot and Fruity Puffers, named by the Belgian zoologist Dr. Henry Schouteden. Flemish Dutch pronunciation, Schouteden, Schouteden, Schouteden. In other news, meet my new spotted Congo puffer. The Schoutedenti, I think, is how you say it, but I don't claim to know. I think I said it. I think I pronounced it 100 times listening to the pronunciation. I still get it wrong because I don't speak the language. But your spotted Congo puffer is awesome. I can speak those words. And super thumbs up. You know what? I've always been a fan of puffers, but I never really been as much a fan of puffers until I started really getting exposed to them all the time, like hanging out with Kobe. And you hang out with Kobe enough, you start to fall in love with puffers, and I'm almost thinking about getting a puffer tank again. But that would mean I'd have to go get a glass tank because the puffers will tear up the acrylic. And I don't know if I ever want to go get a glass tank because Super Surprises actually went and picked up a new tank the other day, and you guys are going to be able to check that out at some point in time as we rock and roll through the next couple of weeks. Is it awesome tank? It's okay. It's not exactly the size that the guy said it was going to be, but the price was right, and I had already driven an hour and a half to go get it, so I was like, I'm going to get this tank anyhow. It's a pretty cool tank. Hopefully it'll fit the spot we want it to go in. And I also want to, everybody that's been cool enough to be here this late on a Friday, shout out to everybody out there. Vicky, we do have a brand new tank that's being built, okay? Vicky bought it. I didn't have anything to do with it. Vicky bought it. It's being built, and you guys are going to be able to check out the unleashing of a brand new acrylic tank for Vicky's stuff. Mad props to Vicky. Mad props to the local builder. I want to check with the local builder before I tell you guys who made it, because the last time I talked to him, he has so many orders. He was like, dude, don't send any more work my way because I'm so busy that they'll just get mad, like if they find out how long it's going to take to get their tank or whatever. But needless to say, we've been waiting for over 2 months now, and should be here fairly soon. This is the timeline he told us how long it was going to be. And Vicky had basically got her tax return and just decided like, hey, I'm going to buy the exact tank that's going to fit exactly where we want it to go. And then I'm basically going to be in charge of setting it up, basically, and taking care of it. So it's a decent trade-off. I'm basically going to be taking care of it forever, which is fine. Does not bother me at all. I'm going to be stoked that the tank will be going right into the right spot, and I'll be taking as best care of it as I can for as long as I'm able. If I keel over dead, who knows? Rumbust. As prompted by your super chat, my guy. I don't know what SEK Swedish Krones 50 is. I don't know how much that is, but thank you. And I updated the Patreon page, and we'll be able to check this out. Said, finally found his macro extension rings. Also, got some crystal red shrimp, kind of by accident, but that's another story. I don't know how you get crystal red shrimp on accident and how that's like another story, and that's not posted on this. But we did have a question earlier. Let's see here. Where did it go? Somebody had a question earlier, and I read it. Let's see. Where did it go? Somebody was asking earlier about crystal red shrimp and fish. right? I would say any of the like emerald rasboras, the SBIs, stuff like that, tiny, tiny, tiny rasboras, nanofish are going to be the best fish to keep with crystals. I would bear in mind that if you are going to be feeding fish with crystal shrimp, that you are going to really have to keep up on your water changes and stuff and make sure that that water is nice and clean. You run the risk of a crash disaster, you know. Daniel Keeping Fish says, I'm not doing Super Chat anymore because you said YouTube steals half, prefer to do Patreon. Yes, I did have some people email me that are like, you know, hey, people that Super Chat are giving you a gift and basically it was like me, I'm acting like a jerk if I tell people that YouTube takes half of it. I mean, they don't take half. They take 40%. But I feel like it's kind of a public service announcement sort of situation where it's like I would want to know that if I was like if I was Vexing Cat and I just super chatted $6.99, which thank you very much, Vexing Cat, I appreciate it. If super chat's the way that you want to do it, that's totally cool. It's totally fine with me. I'm certainly appreciative of people that like throw tips in the jar. You know what I mean, for showing up here and doing the show and answering questions and stuff. It's totally cool. You know, I love it. It's awesome. But I always like to tell people, like, if you're talking dollars to dollars, the good value is with the Patreon because the Patreon takes a much smaller percentage. And it's it's a monthly thing. So, but I mean, I've had people come on here and super chat $200. I've had people come on here and super chat. Well, Corey super chatted $495 one time. Like a maniac. But, you know, he basically wanted to sponsor the show. And I was like, that's cool. You know, but he already knows how much that the share that the YouTube takes out of it. But I feel like this way, if like, okay, let me put it this way. If I was tipping a waitress and I didn't know that the restaurant was going to take a big percentage of their tips just away from them, just because the restaurant was there, I feel like I'd want to know about that ahead of time. You know what I mean? I'd still leave a tip, but I'd also try to leave a tip like that was just more effectively for them, right? You know. So that's all. You know, I just like to tell people, like, maybe if you're somebody that only has $1 and you're like, I can't even super chat, but I'm like, but you could become a Patreon for a month and you could post all your questions up onto Patreon, onto the community page, which I talk about on Fridays, you know? So I feel like I'm just giving people options of something if they want to do it or not, but it feels weird to email me and tell me about that though. But I think people should also know that what YouTube's up to also. Like, it feels weird to me. Like, it feels weird to me that YouTube doesn't, like, you know, like, tell people that. Maybe it tells you when you super chat. I don't know. Let's see. Niels Hansen with the DKK. I don't know what DKK is. Is that Danish? Hold on. Symbol. DKK. What's a DKK? Which country currency? Oh, it's Denmark. It's Danish. Oh my God, I got it right. Sort of, just by maybe, you know, his name's Niels, you know. I might be able to figure that out. I got a lot of Danish in me, guy. And I got a super chat from Niels, Danish. DKK. What's the KK part? Oh, it could be Greenland, too, and the Faroe Islands. I didn't know that. The Danish... what did I just say? That didn't work right. The Danish kroner, the official currency of Denmark, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands, introduced on the 1st of January, 1875. Huh. All right. You guys, we're learning a lot today, you know? We're learning a lot. We're getting wicked smart, pronouncing things incorrectly, and maybe we're just having a good time. I don't know. Vexing Cat says, I always leave my tip in cash, even if I'm paying with a card. I do that same thing. I do that exact same thing. 100%. Let's see. Mateo 5001 says, you mean a better wage over tipping plus a slave wage? I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's a funny situation for sure. But I will say this: spending time in Europe, I realized that, like, you know, they don't tip bartenders or servers or anybody out there. And one of the guys that we talked to is like, "Yeah, man, I'm paid real well. I'm all good. Don't worry about leaving a tip." I left him a tip of my American change just for the novelty. You know, I was just like, "This isn't really like to pay your bills. This is just because I had some American change, and maybe you want to like." Check it out, because European money is like really cool looking and I like to check it out. Or like Asian coins, super cool. It's like, oh, this thing's from Thailand, sweet. I mean, it's not really worth a whole lot or anything, so I just left it there. Maybe he thought it was cool, maybe he didn't. I don't know. I didn't do a follow-up with the guy. Maybe I should have done a follow-up. I don't know. Maybe one of these days. Maybe one of these days I'm gonna call a random German guy and ask him if he thought the American penny was cool. No, I don't think I'm ever gonna do that. That's probably never gonna happen. Vexing Cat likes the Canadian quarter. I like the toonies. Those are my favorite. The $2 coins. Those are awesome. I left a Canadian server what was it? I left a Canadian server a $36 tip in toonies once because I had all these coins in my pocket. And I was like, I don't need all these coins. I'm going back to the States. And my friend counted them up and was like, you're leaving a $36 tip for 2 eggs, bacon, and a coffee? You know? Uh-oh. What's going on here? Candy overhauls. What happened? Fishy mailman. She went in to get a kidney stone removed and had a stroke during surgery. Who did? Oh, a friend's mom who has a GoFundMe. Oh. Man, that's hardcore. You go in to get a kidney stone and you have a stroke. Oh, man, that's brutal. That's brutal. I'm sorry to hear that. I am sorry to hear that. It's Donald's Fish Vibe. It's wondering when I'm going to change this offensive cup. Luckily, this doesn't cue any of the algorithm, so I'm never going to change it. I'm never going to give up this mug. I'm never going to put it down. I'm never going to run around with other mugs. Right? Delicious. Fuzzy Fish says, Joel, I hope you are not going away. Love your live streams. I would super chat or Patreon, but I got no monies because bills suck. But I hope venting makes it better and it gets better. Fuzzy Fish, you must be talking about the Wednesday freak out show. Yeah, I'm fine now. I went and meditated outside and I'm feeling better now. I don't know. I just have to say, like, This insurance company thing is what puts it over the top with me because these people are just rude. These people are just rude and mean, and they are not nice. And, you know, it's just, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But there's a lot of things all coming down at the same time, and I certainly have to figure out what is going on. And I emailed somebody back. Hold on, I don't want to misquote myself. Let me check this out. I think it was, yes, I emailed somebody back that says, I know I need to get a deal done with a sponsor soon, though, so I'm doubling down on the efforts to get that put together. That's a quote from me that I sent to somebody. And yes, I that's going to be one of the biggest things that I'm working on right now. It's like I can either try and really hard to get a sponsor to kind of cover the deficit because you guys are super generous. You guys are super awesome. But I really do need to get a sponsor at some point in time that can really kick in and help the show grow. I'll be able to go places, interview other people and stuff like that. That's just one of the things. That's just one of the things that kind of needs to happen at some point. And I'm really doubling down to try and get that done. So, it's in the works, Fuzzy. It's in the works. I'm trying my hardest to just kind of cover this gap. It's like we're getting there. We'll figure it out. The Fishy Mailman with a $5 super chat saying, I do both because it probably makes YouTube happy and not hate you so much. That is a good point. You're probably right. It probably makes YouTube hate us a little bit less if we do get some super chats every day. It probably is cool with them, I would think. But hopefully my recommendation of the Aquarium Co-op's bargain basement clearance deals help you guys out. Hopefully you guys got the link for it, and hopefully that's going whatever direction it's going. Like I said, I'm not necessarily apologizing for my freak out. I'm more or less apologizing in a way that, like, the show wasn't very entertaining necessarily for some people. So, which kind of sucks. Like, I don't like that. I don't like have a show that's, like, not fun and not that great. But I think there is a misrepresentation of certain things in this world that, like, if you show up and, like, maybe people look at the Patreon and they're like, wow, this guy's making a whole bunch of money. I'm really not. And I probably got overly frustrated and kind of spazzed out a little bit, but it's a reality of the situation that maybe people don't have enough information to make a decision or not. So hopefully it conveyed some of that to the people that maybe just don't know what's up, But we have to get to today's topic. I mean, I know you guys want to just talk about the Aquarium Co-op's clearance sale. Somebody ordered something from there today. Thank you, whoever ordered from the clearance thing. Hopefully it's that super low price you were looking for. I'm telling you, those nano lights are the screaming deal that popped up on me was those nano lights and those Fluval lights. It was going to be super cheap because they're open box. Get them while you can. I would get it while you can, for sure. 54 Punchy says, I will keep supporting you no matter how you pronounce Willamette. 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 Yeah. Okay, but either way, sorry to get sidetracked about that nonsense. But as people show up, I like to answer you guys' questions as much as I can. You know what I mean. Did I miss anybody's super chats? No, I think I got them all. Okay, wait, somebody was asking. Bare Bottom Aquariums is asking, what do you think about adding one albino pleco and 8 tiger barbs and 1 angelfish to a 60-gallon corner bow front tank with 2 young gold severums already in the tank? Well, I certainly don't like adding anything in with severums that are already established in the tank, because they will probably whoop on everybody that's around in there. One angelfish is never great either. I'd like to have them in pairs. I don't like to have them alone. You might be able to pull off, like, the 8 tiger barbs with the severums would probably be chaos. The pleco would be fine. If I had to bet dollar to dollar that would end up being a pretty chaotic setup with the severums already in there. Currently, HD is asking if you're going to plant a 55-gallon for rainbow fish tank, but could only use one type of plant, what would you use? Well, if that means one family of plant, but then I can use different types of it, is that What you mean? Or if there's only one plant, period. If it could only do one plant, I would just do an Iwagumi with like dwarf baby tears. If for some reason I could only do one plant. If I could do one like family of plants, I would do Ludwigia because there's like 80 different kinds. And I would get collectoritis and try to collect them all. Like a Pokemon, you know? Like the Pokemon. You guys like Pokemon? You guys like Minecraft? No? No, you don't? Well, I would do Ludwigia if I could only do like one family, you know? Okay, so today's topic, what inspires your aquascapes? I want to get through this and rock and roll on through it. Here's some night photography I was doing the other night while we were in Central Washington. Yeah, that's right. I'm throwing the R on there, the thing that bothers me more than anything when people say Washington. Here's some night photography, and it will scroll through some other photography that I did while we were out there doing a little camping and stuff like that. This is what inspires my aquascapes. I go around and I take pictures of stuff, and I'm not saying that I try to emulate the pictures that I take, but the pictures that I take are what inspire my aquascapes as to where I'm going with it, what I'm going to do with it, what are the textures that I'm looking for, what's actually happening in nature. Like, look at this crazy rock movement right there. You know, you can't... Like, I personally feel like if you're not out taking pictures of some of the nature and things that are just naturally forming and stuff, whether or not you're going to be able to actually do a scape that's really going to, you know, convey the nature, the scape, the nature scape that you're looking for. And this is really one of the ways that I get inspired to start to figure out my scapes. One thing would be like from the beginning here. So let's say from this first picture right here. Uh-oh, you guys, do we have to turn on the whiteboard? Oh, that's unbelievable. I get to turn on the whiteboard. All right, so here would be a perfect example. So we see this horizon here. It's really not... It's pretty straight. You know what I mean? It's pretty straight, but it's certainly not perfectly straight, right? It's not perfectly straight, but this would be a good example right here of you point your camera out and you start to get some of... I don't want to accidentally draw something that may or may not be misinterpreted, but you start to get some of the framework of what's going on, right? And the fact that whenever you're out looking around in nature, you rarely do you ever see a perfectly flat surface unless you're looking at something like the sea or the ocean, and you're seeing the event horizon basically that's way off and perfectly perfectly straight and flat and level. It's pretty rare that you'd ever see that, right? This is more of an example right here of what you would see is something that does have some movement to it. There's a hill going up that way. There's a hill here. It kind of pops and dips down. And then where the trees are growing is not even remotely making any kind of sense. But this is a shape right here that you could think like this could be the back layer of your tank, like how you were going to build it, or how you're going to put in the substrate, and then how the rocks were going to move, right, would be something like what these clouds are doing. And I'm obviously like not going super artistic, but the direction that the clouds are going is where your rock layout could easily be. See how this sort of makes sense right here? And then we have this big void over here. And then hold on, we got to put an eye on this bugger because he's gonna bite this thing, right? We got to put some action lines here. But you can see where the clouds are going, and then your offset rock could easily be like right over there, right? You can give them a shark fin kind of situation back here, coming up over the horizon, and we're in the third grade. but it's working out pretty good for us because, you know, we just got to put a little this up here, you know, highlight his eye a little bit, make him a little angry because he's a monster. Hold on. There. But you can kind of see, this is where I look around and I start to come up with my inspiration of like where my rocks are going to go, what my horizon's going to look like in the background, and how I'm going to set my substrate to accommodate the whole tank and not just go, all right, let me make it perfectly flat back there. We get the same thing with something like this here. Let me turn the whiteboard back on, is that this movement is coming right here, right? So there's this movement right here, and then this is blocked out over that way, right? So if I was thinking about building a tank and I wanted to use like this picture as inspiration, I basically would want some kind of movement in the front from whatever is over here, right? Then I would like this to be the crazy pathway, right? Now, the background back here just essentially becomes kind of irrelevant, and this whole thing starts to kind of take shape as some kind of weird bird or some kind of, I don't know. But this kind of picture right here would be the perfect example that I would be looking to as something that breaks the whole center line right here and sort of breaks up the whole entire scape. Would be probably something like a piece of driftwood or something like that would be coming out right here to break up the entire view of the whole scape instead of just allowing it to look really flat and have nothing coming forward, and thinking that if I keep the scape being totally flat, that means that everybody would be able to look at everything. But the unfortunate part is if you keep the scape totally flat and it doesn't have any movement like that coming to the front, it's not gonna work out all that well. It's not gonna do it's not gonna draw the eye the way that you want it to draw, or to draw the eye. It's not gonna bring someone's eye in to look at exactly what's going on. It would just end up looking kind of, if you scape it super flat and you don't have anything moving, and you think that if I stop any kind of movement, that will allow people to look in at the whole area, it unfortunately will do the exact opposite. Now, here's another example right here of it being broken up, right? And that what's being viewed here could easily be a basis for escape, right? In the same way that this is a picture, right? And then we have the other horizon going back there. Now, if you think about this like in the possibility of an aquascape, right? You would think, I want some kind of open area coming from the middle, right? Coming from the middle right here. And then I'd want the two focal points to be whatever's going on here and whatever's going on over in the side, right? And then this is moving down to the front. And then I probably would end up putting my rocks somewhere in the back right here. I know that it may or may not get confusing, but hopefully this is like kind of explaining a little bit as how like I go hike around and like look at things. This is what inspires me. Now, here's another example of how I would normally hopefully this picture sort of illustrates, because it feels like these towers are right in the middle, right? But it actually is not in the middle, because this is the thing that draws your eye, right? So it's this area here, instead of like it being directly in the center, it's actually drawing your eye over here, right? Which allows for all of this open space to create the composition to be legitimate, right? So all this is open, all this is open, and all this down here is open in the picture. And where your eye's sitting here allows you to be able to look, and it creates depth. That's going to be the same thing when you're looking into your aquarium to like kind of set up where you want things to be. Would be how you'd want to set it up so that it looks natural when you look into it, and your eyes kind of look to an area, and then it creates all this depth because you're only working in this real short front to back space. To actually get depth, you're going to have to consider essentially the rule of thirds. Oh, and here's this one picture. Hold on, I need to go back to this one. This one right here. Whoops. Stop doing that. All right, I have to pause it and go back. There we go. We want to make sure we can see it. This right here is a beautiful picture of a flower, but it's too centered. It's not perfectly centered, but it is pretty much the epitome of like bad composition. It just looks pretty because these are really purple, and then the rest around it's all kind of blown out and drab. But this is a perfect example of like not that great of composition. Typically I would like recrop this so that it is kind of tilted and moved so that this flower would actually be at like an angle more like this instead of where it's at right now. And that will actually make it kind of have this good movement. You can ignore the dark back here and not have to look at also what's going on in the foreground, and you can actually kind of focus on it on the flower itself. And that's a good explanation that's a terrible explanation of composition, but it gives you an idea of what you could be looking for while you ice Aquascape, avoiding what is going on in that picture, right? So it's pretty, hopefully that's kind of an explanation of like how I go into it. I'm always kind of wondering like what other people's inspirations are. I know you guys are chatting in the live chat, but anybody that's coming up here later, please post down below maybe some examples of what inspires your Aquascape. If you stayed here this long, then maybe you're interested and you feel like throwing down a comment. All right, guys, we've only got 10 minutes left. Or we've got less than 10 minutes left because I have to go a little bit early. Because like I said, I'm going to go to check out a truck. That's what's going to have to happen. I don't know. I'm just going to have to leave a couple minutes early because I don't want them to not be there when I need to go check out the exact same truck that's just gray instead of green. But hopefully this was a good show. Hopefully you liked it. I definitely want to say thanks to the super chatters, Rumbust, Vexing Cat, Niels Hansen, the Fishy Mailman, and everybody who stepped up and chipped in on the Patreon. Thank you very much, you guys. Hopefully we can, hopefully I can try and round up some extra project money and stuff like that from maybe a sponsor or two. If not, you could always go to the Aquarium Co-op and check out those the discount section that he has posted, the clearance section. And maybe that's something that's going to help you out a bunch because I did notice there were definitely some good deals on there that I was down with. So maybe it'd be cool for you. I definitely think those nano lights are a screaming deal. And I'm probably going to try and get one myself. I don't know. I don't really have any money, but I'll figure it out. I'll sell my kidney. But I'd check that out. Mr. B's Fishing Things just showed up really late. Got no notice. I've got to go check the settings. That's right. If you are subscribed, be sure to click the bell, and then now there's a whole bunch of different settings under the bell, which is ridiculous. I think it's kind of silly that YouTube keeps doing what they're doing, but regardless of me, whatever I think, they don't care. They don't ask me if they should do it ahead of time or not. But because they just do it, you know, they're like, oh, we're just doing that. You know, it's all good. It's all good, G. We're doing what we're doing. But I would like to say thanks to everybody for coming out. I got to get going because I just realized it's 4:50 and got to go. Hopefully everybody has a fantastic weekend. Stay tuned. I got some produced videos coming out this weekend. I've been hammering away at them as hard as I can, and I hope you like them. If you don't, throw them out. Or they're free. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But I will check in on y'all later. Oh man, where's that button?